Hello everyone. I welcome my dear students to the subject on electric circuit analysis. The subject code is 19EC301 and the name of the subject is electric circuit analysis. This subject serves as a foundation for any electronics subjects that you study in your upcoming semesters. So before we learn to analyze complicated circuits or you learn to analyze any electronic products in future, we need to start from the scratch. So any product design, whatever involves, we start from the scratch. In a similar way, any complicated or any large scale electronic circuits, we are going to start from the scratch, and that is why we study the subject electric circuit analysis. Now, as all other subjects, we also have 5 units in this particular subject. The unit 1 is about basics of circuit analysis. And in this PowerPoint presentation, we are going to concentrate mainly on the initial topic of unit 1, which is the basics of circuit analysis. Unit 2 is about network theorems for DC and AC circuits. Unit 3 is resonance and coupled circuits. Unit 4 is transient response analysis using Laplace transform techniques. And Unit 5 is two-port networks. So these are the 5 units that we are going to study. So I'm not going to tell in depth of about Unit 2, 3, 4 and 5. Let us mainly concentrate on Unit 1, which is the basics of circuit analysis. So Unit 1, the name of the unit is Basics of Circuit Analysis. So let me start with this particular unit by telling the textbook that we are going to use for our particular unit. So for the first unit, the book that is recommended for us in our curriculum is Engineering Circuit Analysis by William H. Haight, Jack E. Kemerly and Stephen M. Durbin. This is the book that we use as reference for the topics related to Unit 1. Right. So before going on deeply into the subject, the name of the subject is electric circuit analysis. Electric and circuit is a very common word to us. We know what are circuits, we know what is electricity. But why should we analyze them? If you take anything, not only circuits, but any kind of a design or any kind of a product, we need to analyze a product. So we must start from knowing what is our problem definition. So I start by knowing what is a problem. To solve this problem, what information do I require? And for that information, what parameters we need to compute. For example, my analysis is I'm going to design a mobile phone charger. So what is the scope of my problem? My problem is to design a mobile phone charger. Obtain the required information. Whether my charger is going to charge a laptop, so mobile phone charger means what series of a mobile phone, how much of rating I need to give. If you see on the top of a mobile phone charger, we can see certain information written like the power rating, voltage rating, etc. So we need to get the required information on what values we need to design a particular charger, and based on that I will compute the voltage value, the current value and the power rating of my particular mobile phone charger. So that is why we come to an analysis based on subject. So any product design, we always analyze the problem, get the required information, and using the information we need to compute the parameters required to design any product. And that is why today we are studying circuit analysis. So when you study higher semester subjects without knowing the foundation subject of circuit analysis, you cannot study any electronic subject. This subject lays as a basic foundation for any electronic subjects that you study in your upcoming semesters. Now this presentation is mainly devoted to these 4 topics. We study about what is electric charge, what is current, what is voltage, and we end up by seeing what is power. That is what we are going to mainly concentrate on, the first topic of your syllabus of Unit 1, which is the basics of electric circuits. Now let me start with the charge. So this word charge is very common to us. We would have studied physics right in our 10th standard, 12th standard, even in our engineering physics. We have studied physics all through our lives. And the most important concept in the universe or wherever we see the world is something called as an electric charge. So we always say I charge my mobile phone, I charge my laptop, etc. So the word charge is present there too. So what is charge? Charge is actually the very smallest element that is present in anywhere. I won't say only in circuits, it is the smallest element present anywhere, throughout us, around us, in this universe, everywhere. But since charge is a very extremely small quantity, we never talk about charge as a single element. Always charges are combined together. That is what we call to be voltage. And when same combination of charges move, that is what we call to be current. So we never see about single charge. We never analyze electron as one. We always analyze an electron or a proton as a group of charges together. This is because they are very small in size. That is why we study charges as a whole and not as a single. And as we all know, the positive charge is called as a proton and negative charge is called as electron. But throughout this subject, we will mostly see about electrons and not about protons. So let us concentrate on electrons alone in circuit analysis because current is nothing but flow of electrons. That is why we're going to concentrate mainly on electrons here. And we define charge in terms of current. So it is counting the total charge that passes through an arbitrary cross section of a wire during an interval of 1 second. So this means taking 1 second duration for that 1 second in a particular area, how much of charge is going to cross, how much of electrons are going to cross that particular area. That is how we define the term charge. I hope I am clear. So let me use a pen. So I define charge as I consider an arbitrary time of 1 millisecond. For this 1 millisecond, how much of electrons is going to pass through one particular area. So I'll consider this particular area alone. In this particular area, for a time of 1 second, how much of electrons flow through that particular area. That is what we define the charge in terms of amperes. Now, how do we represent charges? So charges we can represent as constant values or moving values. As I said earlier, when a charge is present at a single place, when charges are accumulated, we say that it is constant. For example, you take a battery source, a battery does not move. A charge is stored within a battery. Your power banks, charge is stored within a power bank. So all those are constant values which does not change with time. So those are constant sources. And we also have charges that change with time. So that we represent it as Q of t. So if a charge does not change with time, we represent that with capital Q. Examples of these are your voltage sources like a battery or power bank which does not change with time. Whereas if a charge changes with time, when it starts to flow, your voltage gets reduced, your charge level gets reduced. That we call it to be a time variant quantity because it varies with time. I hope these two parameters are clear to you. So capital Q, or we can sometimes represent this as small q also. So this represents a constant charge that does not change with time, whereas Q of t represents charges that vary with time. So this is the most general case because a charge, it mostly won't remain constant. It will be always changing with respect to time value. Fine. So this is what we saw in the previous slide. So this single black dots, they represent individual charges. When this charge moves through this particular cross section, so in 1 second of time, how much of charge is going to pass through this particular area? This is what we call to be charge in terms of amperes. Amperes is nothing but current. Because current or movement of charges, we define charge in terms of amperes. Fine. And this is a graph, as we said here, the charge definitely varies with time because when you connect your mobile phone to your power bank, the charge in the power bank gets reduced as your mobile phone gets charged, which means it varies with time. So this graph represents with time how your charge gets reduced or increased. So charges in general, they are time variant quantities, which means they vary with time, and mostly we cannot say that charges are constant in nature. So this is all about charges. So we saw that charges are the main thing for voltage also, charges are the main thing for current also. When a charge is stored in the same place like a battery or a power bank, those are called as voltage sources. Whereas when charges move from one place to another, which is the transfer of charges, we come to a term called as current. So I think this diagram is very familiar to everyone. We see these lines, these are called as transmission lines. We see this everywhere. So this delivers charges from one place to another, delivers current. So our home electricity, we get current from a place, which means charges are moving from one place to another. So when a charges move, it indicates transfer of energy from one point to another. And this movement of charge is what we call to be the current. So this is again a varying quantity, right? So with respect to time, anything that varies, we define it with respect to time. At this time, this much of energy has flown. At this time, this much of energy has flown. So we cannot say that to be a constant quantity. It is a variable quantity and therefore it is defined as Q of T. I hope I've made my point clear. So current is nothing but when charges move from one place to another. When charges are in motion, that is what we call to be a current. And current has both direction. What is the starting point from where I get my current and where it reaches. So a current has two values. It has a value, a magnitude, some 3 4 5 like that, 3 amps, 4 amps. It has a value also and it has a direction also. And since this varies with respect to time, it is represented as Q of T. So I think the basics of current would be clear. So we all know that current is represented as I, capital I or small I, and the formula for I is dq by dt. So Q represents the charge, and since charges move, they vary with current, we use differentiation here. So anything that changes, always we use differentiation. Differentiation means a variation, difference. There will be some difference from the starting point to the next point. So when something changes, we bring differentiation to that particular aspect. And current is nothing but the variation of a charge, which is dq, with respect to time. So it is divided by dt, where q represents the charge and t represents the time t. And we very well know that the unit of current is ampere. And the charge transferred between time t naught and t. So let us take two time instance. I start at 8 o'clock, I end at 9 o'clock. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, how much my mobile phone has charged? How much charge has got transferred? So we start the charge at q of time t naught. I end at time t. So from this equation, we can write dq as I into dt. So if I bring that dt to the left hand side, I'll take my pen. So if I bring this dt to left hand side, we can write dq is equal to I into dt. That is what we've written here. dq is equal to I into dt. And we are varying from what time to what time? So dq means it is charge at the time t naught to charge at the time t. And what is the time variation? dt means variation in time. So what is the time variation? It is from t naught to time t. Fine. So the charge available at 8 o'clock to the charge available at 9 o'clock. And dt means variation in time. So I just write it as t naught to t. So the formula for dq is equal to, when we bring this dt to the left hand side, it becomes I into the dt value. And this is again a varying quantity. So we have the current value here and we have the time value here. So how much the current varies with respect to time? That is the graph. This is just a random graph. It just shows that there will be a variation of current with respect to time. This does not have any specific values. This based on the source, like mobile phone, laptop, we have a lot of devices. So this graph varies based on how much of current for that particular time. No need to remember these values exactly. Next, we have heard about types of currents. There are two important types of currents. One is DC and AC. DC is said to be direct current, which is constant in time. So whatever the time is, the value of the current remains the same. That is what we call to be a DC current. And AC current, it varies sinusoidally with respect to time. So a sine wave is very common to us. It is a well-known waveform. The basic waveform that we usually know is a sine waveform. So When a current varies sinusoidally, this is what we call to be a sine wave. So when the current varies sinusoidally with respect to time, we call that to be an alternating current. And when the current remains constant at all instants of time, we call that to be DC or direct current. So in this subject, we'll be analyzing both kind of circuits. We'll be analyzing DC circuits also. We'll be analyzing AC circuits also. So if the current is constant at all values of time. If you see here, there's a straight line. There is no variation at all. So if the current value is same for whatever time you take, we call that to be that first type, direct current. Or if the current varies sinusoidally as time varies, we call that to be alternating current. There are other types of currents also, but these two are our interest right now. One is the DC current and the other one is the AC current. And how to represent current? As I told you earlier, current has two main quantities. One is the value, whether it is plus 3 amps or minus 3 amps, etc., and which direction it flows. This arrow mark represents the direction of flow of current. So when we write any quantity, when we write current, we should mention both the direction of flow as well as value of that particular current. Only if both the direction and value are present, they are said to be the correct representation. If either of them are not present, that is said to be wrong. That cannot be considered to be a valid current source. So for representing currents, two terms have to be present. One is the arrow mark, which represents the direction of current flow, as well as we need to write a plus sign or a minus sign depending on the value of the current there. Right. So we saw what is current. Next, let us come to a term called as voltage. Now let us consider this particular element. This is some source. This is some random source represented by a circle, and there are two terminals. One is terminal A and the other one is terminal B. Now what we are going to do, I am going to consider that I am going to send a current into terminal A, and this current is going to be back out through terminal B. This is my consideration. I'll repeat once again. I'm having a source here. This circle represents some element. Let it be anything. This element has two terminals A and B. And what we're going to do, I'm going to send a DC current through the terminal A. And this I'm going to receive it back. The same current is going to come out of the element through the terminal B. Now if I want to make this current to flow through this into the circuit element, I must have some energy. So only if I have some energy, I can push that particular electrons into the element. What is current? Current is nothing but flow of electrons. So if I must push the electrons into this current element, I must possess some energy. So point A must possess some energy. So I must have some energy here. We must have some energy here if I want to push the electrons. Similarly at point B, there must be definitely some energy again here if I want to bring back that electrons or that current out of the terminal B. So which means at this point also something exists. At this point also some energy exists. The difference between the energy that exists between the terminals A and B, that is what we call to be the potential difference. Fine. So we always must have some energy to push a current into terminal A or to bring back a current from terminal B. We must possess some energy to do that particular task. When this task is done, then we say that there exists a potential difference between the terminals A and B, and this is what we call to be the voltage at that particular point. Fine. Next, so what is voltage then? So I'm going to do something. I'm going to push a charge into my circuit element. I'm going to bring back the charge out of my circuit element, which means I'm doing some work. So voltage is nothing but it is a measure of work required to move the charge through the circuit element. Right? So only if I possess some energy, I can push the charge into the circuit element. I can bring the charge out of the circuit element. So which means I'm doing some work there. If I'm pushing a table, it means I'm doing a work. If I exert my energy, I can move a table in my classroom. So we are doing some work there. So voltage is nothing but it is a measure of work that is required to move the charge through the element. So when we say about work done or energy, it is represented as joules per coulomb, and this is nothing but the voltage, right? So we are pushing a charge, getting out a charge. We said this, if this happens, then surely some potential difference is there. That is what we call to be the voltage. So energy is represented as the work done is nothing but the joules per coulomb, and this is what we term to be the term voltage. So we can write that 1 volt is equal to 1 joule per coulomb. Fine. Now we can see two diagrams here. So figure 2.9a, let me start with this diagram. So here I am giving a voltage source of minus 5 volt, and terminal A is given to be positive, terminal B is given to be negative. Now if you see terminal B, it is already of a negative potential, and the voltage that we supply is also minus 5 volt. So minus of minus becomes plus here. So I will say that this terminal B is positive by 5 volt with respect to terminal A. I'll repeat once again. The voltage that I give here is minus 5 volt, but this terminal is again, it is a negative terminal. So which means minus of minus becomes positive for us, which means terminal B is positive by how much voltage? It is positive by 5 volt with respect to terminal A. Now here again, this is also positive. 5 volt is also positive. B is also positive. So here too, B is positive by 5 volt with respect to terminal A. Fine. Now come to the diagrams C and D. If you see here, A is positive, B is negative, but the charge is also positive. So this plus into plus becomes, this is positive for terminal A. So here, A is positive by 5 volt with respect to terminal B. And again here, the voltage source is minus 5 volt. The terminal A is a negative terminal. So minus of minus becomes a positive value. So A is again positive with respect to 5 volt when you compare with terminal B. So this is how we name any circuit elements. Now when you see this diagram, now compare these two diagrams. Here only V1, the voltage value is present, but the terminals are not marked as either positive or negative, which means I cannot predict which terminal is positive, which terminal is negative. Now the second diagram, the terminals are marked positive or negative, but the voltage value, it is not mentioned here. So this is also a wrong representation. Now when you consider the third diagram, the terminal polarities is also mentioned, whether to be positive or negative. The value of the voltage is also present. So which means only this is a correct representation of voltage source. Diagram A as well as B are inadequate representations of voltage. So when we represent any voltage source, we must mention whether the terminal is positive or negative. In addition to this, we must also say what is the value of the voltage that is connected to the circuit element. Only then we can say that the voltage value is correctly specified, or else this becomes inadequate in nature. Now we will do a small problem, a very basic problem based on this. So in this figure, voltage 1, this is given to be, the value is given to be 17 volt for us. We are asked to find what is the value of V2. So if you see here, this is positive, this is negative, but V2 is the inverse of it. This terminal is negative, this terminal is positive, which means if V1 is plus 17 volt, then V2 must be minus 17 volt. I repeat once again, in the question, V1 is given to be 17 volt, and the terminal, let me name this terminal to be, for example, I'll name this to be A, and I'll name this to be terminal B. So terminal A is given to be positive, terminal B is given to be negative, and the value of the voltage supplied to this particular element is given to be 17 volts. But if you see the V2, it is inverse. A is given to be negative, B is given to be positive, which means the voltage source value will also be inverted in nature. So if V1 is 17 volt, then V2 must be minus 17 volt. So the answer must be V2 is equal to minus 17 volts. Now, we have seen what is current, we have seen what is voltage. Now, we are going to see what is power. Now, there are actually a difference between what is energy and what is power. Energy is how much we will say I possess this much of energy. I have a very great energy at morning 8 o'clock, but as at 3 o'clock my energy becomes lower. But power is different from energy. Power is the speed or the fastness at which I move. For example, I can say that I'm highly energetic, but how fast I run, for example, that might turn to be my power. I have very high energy, but whether I run fast or I run slow, that is determined by a term called as power. I might be highly energetic, but my power might be less. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I might be a highly energetic individual, but the rate at which I spend my energy, I might have very high energy, but I might run slowly. Or I might have very high energy, I might run very fast. So the rate at which I use my energy, that is what we call to be a term power. So if I have a very high energy, I run the race very fast, then I can say that I'm very, very powerful. If I have very high energy, but still I run very slowly, I'll say that my energy is high, but the power level of mine is very low. That is where the difference lies. Fine. So power is represented as capital P or small p. And power depends on two factors. One is capital V, sorry, one is the voltage, which is V, and the next one is I, which is the current. So V is nothing but the accumulation of charges. So as I said, I have a lot of energy within me. That is what I call to be the voltage. I, at what speed I run, at what speed the charges are going to move, that is what I call to be the current. So I have a high accumulation of charges, my V is very high, and if I'm able to move very faster, then my I is also high, then which means the power will also be very high. I hope I've made my point clear, right? So V is accumulation of charges, which means I have very high energy. I is the speed at which I run, which means charges are in motion. And when I combine the two terms, the product of V and I, that is what we call to be a term power. So power is nothing but a rate at which energy is expended. That is what we call to be a term power. Fine. So right. So P is equal to V into I. This is the relationship between voltage, current and the term power. Now let us try to compute the power absorbed by each part in figure 2.13. So we know that power is a product of voltage and current, and in each of these three figures A, B and C, the voltage value is also mentioned, the current value is also mentioned. We need to find what is the power of them. So take the first diagram. Power is equal to voltage, 2 volt into 3 amp. So 2 threes are, it is going to be 6 watts. So voltage is also positive, so plus 2 volt. Current is also positive, so plus 3 amps. So the value is 6 watts. What about the second one? It is minus 2 volt into minus 3 amps, so it is again 6 watts. And the third diagram, it is 4 volt into 5 amps, it is minus 5 amps, so it is minus 20 watts. And I would like to emphasize one point here. The unit of power is watts. This is well known to us, but still I'm telling you. For voltage, the unit is volts. For current, the unit is ampere. And for power, the unit is watts. So if you just write a 6, that does not have any meaning at all. When I write 6 watts, it implies the power of that element is watts. So whenever you do anything, it is mandatory, it is compulsory to mention the unit of a particular number. Just writing a number has no value at all. You will not be given marks in any case. So whenever you describe circuits, for wherever, not only here, wherever or for whatever quantity you take, describing the unit of a particular number is most important than writing the correct answer there. So power is nothing but, it is a product of voltage and amp, which is nothing but equal to the watts that is present there. Right. And one important thing that we need to note here, if current is directed into the positive terminal, it indicates power is generated by the element. And if current is directed out of the positive terminal, it indicates power is supplied by the element. So let us understand this. Let me draw a circuit. So for example, let me take some element. Let me have two terminals. Fine. So let me have this to be the positive terminal and let us have this to be the negative terminal. Now, the first point indicates that if it is directed into the positive terminal, it means it is generated, the power is generated by the element. So which means if my direction of flow, the current flow is like this, if it is directed towards the positive terminal, then we can say that this element generates the power to the positive terminal. Whereas, let me take another element. So let me have it like this. Let this be positive and let this be negative. Now, when current is directed out of the positive terminal. So this is the positive terminal. I'm coming out of the positive terminal. Then it indicates power is supplied by the element. So if we have a diagram like this, like if the arrow mark, if the direction is outside the positive terminal, then this element absorbs all the power and only the balanced power will come out. Whereas if it is towards the positive terminal, then this element generates the power required to run the circuit. I'll make my point clear once again. If the arrow mark is present towards the positive terminal, if you see here it is directed into the positive terminal, then we can say that this element, it generates the particular power. Whereas when my arrow mark, when the current is directed out of the particular terminal, what happens? This element, it is not mentioned here, then what happens is that this element absorbs all the power and only the balance power comes out of the particular element, right? So this will absorb. When it is coming out, it will absorb. When it is coming into the positive terminal, this will generate the particular power. I hope this point is very clear to you, because this point is important when we analyze the circuits in the upcoming topics and units. So it is into the positive terminal, this element will generate the required power. If it is out of the positive terminal, this will absorb the power and only the balance power will be supplied by the particular element. So always remember this, and that is why we say the arrow mark is very, very important when we represent current sources. Fine. So let us have a small recap of what we saw. So we started by seeing what is a charge. So since charge is a very small quantity, we usually won't represent charge as a single element. We will combine charge, and when it is stored at a single place, that is what we call to be the voltage. Whereas when charges are in motion, that is what we call to be the current. So since charges are in motion, we define that with respect to time. I is dq by dt. The variation of charge with respect to time, that is what we call to be the current. And accumulation of charges is what we call to be the voltage. And power is, it is a combination of voltage and current. We saw that P is equal to V into I. So I possess all the energy, that is voltage, and to what extent I can run in my race, to what till what distance I can transfer my charge, that is I. So P is defined as P is equal to, it is a product of voltage into the respective current, P equal to V into I. And based on the basic power, voltage and current values, we saw basic circuits and how to calculate the power values. So this is just a very basic topic of circuit analysis, like we saw about charge, what is current, what is voltage, and what is power and the difference between energy and power. And we have just seen the small basic problems based on those. In the next video, we will see the upcoming topics of the unit. Thank you.